Hey everybody, welcome back to Nancy Drew Mobile Mysteries Shadow Ranch. We really haven't gotten that far in the game, actually. Nancy has been picked up from the airport and she and her friends are driving to the ranch. It's been really tough for the ranch this year, George explains, as she pulls onto the highway. And now with all the strange things happening, it's developing a pretty bad reputation. They're losing reservations right and left. Uncle Ed's worried that if they can't figure out what's going on soon, he'll lose the ranch. The ranch means everything to Uncle Ed, Bess says quietly. He and Aunt Bess have poured their life savings into it. Bess sighs, leaning against the window as an uneasy silence settles over the girls. Then it's settled, Nancy said. We'll do our best to help out while we're here. I bet the three of us can figure out what's going on. Just don't let Uncle Ed hear you say something like that, George warns. He's very proud. He wants us to be here just for vacation, not to help him. There's no reason we can't do both, Nancy grins. Bess perks up. You know what? You're right. We can do both. I'm so glad you could come along, Nancy. Enough serious talk, George declares. We haven't seen you in ages. What's been going on? Nancy catches Bess and George up on her latest adventures as the truck rolls through traffic. Before long, the girls pull through the tall wooden gate that leads to Shadow Ranch. Tall sunflowers. All right, I got the sunflower collectible. Tall sunflowers border the dirt road leading onto the compound. So the collectibles are here, right at the bottom of Chapter 1, because I'm playing Chapter 1, right? So the collectibles are down there. And it looks like I have 7 collectibles in all. Now let's resume the story. As the girls pile out of the truck, Nancy takes in the ranch's stunning views of the distant mountains and expansive desert. There's Uncle Ed, Bess exclaims, waving at the man standing by the barn. Uncle Ed waves back as he talks on a cell phone. Slightly overweight, his work shirt dotted with perspiration, he's the picture of a hard-working rancher. A movement behind him catches Nancy's eye. A rundown, weather-beaten stagecoach is slowly rolling out of the barn, picking up speed as it wobbles down slope. Her eyes widen. The empty stagecoach is heading straight for Uncle Ed. So what are we gonna do? We have to do something to prevent Uncle Ed from becoming Uncle Dead. What do? Do we yell at him, or do we just run over and push him out of the way? Well, I don't want to yell at him because yelling is rude and he's sort of on the cell phone, so maybe he's not really paying attention. Yeah, he's not really paying attention. He just waved at us. He's more concerned with the cell phone. So we need to run over and push him out of the way because, you know what? He's slightly overweight. I don't think he can run out of the way even if he tried. Come on, Nancy. Focused on his phone call, Uncle Ed doesn't see Nancy racing towards him. Ha! I was right. He wasn't paying attention. She barrels into him at full speed, then sending both of them flying to the ground just as the coach hurtles past. Nancy quickly sits up and watches the old rig gradually creak to a stop. Uncle Ed pushes himself up on his elbows, dazed. When he sees the coach, it dawns on him what almost happened. Good grief, he exclaims. That thing almost ran me down. He looks at Nancy, still in shock. Ever think about playing for the Broncos? George, Bess, and an older woman come running over. Relieved to see that Uncle Ed is okay, the woman nevertheless scolds him as the girls help him to his feet. Darn it, Ed, I told you buying that rickety old thing was a dumb idea. I'm fine, Bet, relax. I probably bumped away one of the wheel blocks by accident. It's no big deal. Several cowboys hurry over from the corral, which is a large pen for horses. Seeing that Uncle Ed isn't hurt, they start to push the stagecoach back towards the barn. Thanks, guys! None of the cowboys acknowledge him or the new guests. Oh, we have mean cowboys. Well, that's not good. They're kind of upset with me, Uncle Ed explains quietly. Well, they're not the only ones, Aunt Bet declares. Can you walk? Course I can walk, see? Wincing, he limps towards the house. Barely, his wife says, putting her arm around his waist to support him. You're gonna be sore tomorrow, that's for sure. Well, tomorrow's tomorrow, Uncle Ed says with a sigh. I'll go get some ice for that arm, Aunt Bet says, returning to the house. He eyes Nancy. You must be the famous Nancy Drew. Pleasure to finally meet you, especially after all I've been told. Thank you so much for inviting me, Mr. Rowley, Nancy says, as the girls help him pull their luggage from the cargo bed. Now I can't have you calling me that, he grins. These girls say you're practically family, so please, just call me Uncle Ed. Sure thing, Uncle Ed. It's nice to meet you. Well, here she is, Shadow Ranch, Uncle Ed boasts with a sweep of his good arm. Nancy stands gazing at the sun-bleached ranch house, barn, and corrals around her. I think it's great, she exclaims. It feels like we're on the movie set of a Western. It's not much compared to some guest ranches here in Arizona, shrugs Uncle Ed. But it's home. And here it is, everybody, Shadow Ranch.
Welcome to Shadow Ranch.
Oh, hold on a second. Is that a sound effect? Yeah, that's a sound effect.
Welcome to Shadow
Oh my gosh.
Ranch.
Everybody, I just realized there is no background music for this game. The only thing you can hear is the sound of my voice. Oh. Well, let's just continue reading and forget about background music. As they approach the front door, it opens, and a cowboy in his 50s saunters onto the porch, a sullen expression on his tanned, leathery face. I imagine this is Tex right here.
Yep.
He stops when he sees Ed. Just the person I was looking for, he says coldly. Ill at ease, Uncle Ed glances at the girls. Not now, all right, Tex? My niece's friend just arrived, and I need to help get them settled. What you need to do, the cowboy says, talking over him in a strange, wind-weathered rasp, is pay me and the boys what we're owed. Look, I know I said today, but it's gonna be more like Wednesday, Thursday at the latest. They ain't gonna cut it. You gotta give us something, that's all there is to it. 100 apiece, maybe. I can't, Tex, Uncle Ed says with a shrug of helplessness. You know I would if I could. Without a word, Tex storms off towards the cowboys clustered near the corral. Nancy tries to keep an eye on Tex, but she suddenly hears a loud barking. Barking, hooray! And she turns to see a huge German shepherd. Hey, we got a dog! A huge German shepherd bounding out of the barn towards them. This here is Chief, Ed announces as the dog rushes up to the girls. He quickly sniffs their outstretched hands, then plants himself in their midst, ready to be petted. The girls happily oblige. Nancy, look, you've got to see this. George is tugging at her arm. Nancy turns as her friend addresses the dog. Chief, high five! Sitting, the dog leans back, raises a paw, and slaps it against George's upraised palm. As the girls reward him with pats and coos of delight, Uncle Ed's wife returns. Now that everything's under control, she says, it's time we meet properly. I know who you are, but I'm Bet. Nice to meet you, Mrs. Rowley, Nancy responds. Pleasure's all mine, provided you call me Aunt Bet. Sure thing, Aunt Bet, says Nancy. Come on, I'll show you to your room, Aunt Bet says, leading the group towards the ranch. Bess and George are in the Navajo room. That's a Native American tribe. The Navajo room, and Nancy, I'll put you in the Hohokam room by yourself, if that's all right. And the Hohokam are apparently another group that sort of lived in this area. So the rooms are named after people who lived in Arizona. Of course, Nancy says. It was very kind of you to have invited me. It's just about the perfect time. We're pretty open right now. Just 5 guests, 2 couples and a single gal. You'll get a chance to meet them at the cookout tonight. You can meet the cowboys then, too. You'll like that. Trust me, Bess whispers eagerly, her blue eyes sparkling. George nods towards Tex, who stands with Uncle Ed outside the barn, conferring with 5 other ranch hands. I hope they're not all as surly as that one. Aunt Bet looks towards the barn and sighs. No, Tex is one of a kind. A good cowboy, but I think he was born grouchy. As the cousins enter the house, Nancy watches Tex standing in the middle of a mutinous group of cowboys. Mutiny, mutiny, yeehaw, partner. That's what a mutinous group of cowboys sounds like. They seem to hang on his every word. When Tex gestures back towards the ranch, he catches Nancy's gaze. His eyes narrow and he gives Nancy a menacing grin. And you know what, everybody? I think I'm going to try a fun experiment. I'm going to let you, the viewers, decide what to do next. You can either vote for going inside and unpacking with Bess and George, or you can vote for going to the barn and exploring and trying to find out what made the stagecoach get loose. So cast your vote. You can either unpack or explore the barn, and whichever option gets the most votes will be picked at the start of the next video.